City of Heroes is back, and it's better than ever. There are constant crazy new updates to power sets, archetypes, and custom costume pieces, the likes of which we've never seen. But here is something that we've been missing since the game came back, a Spanish translation. And I have joining us today a very special guest, the man mostly responsible for us now having the Spanish translation available on the Thunderspy gaming server. Thank you so much for coming on, and welcome to the channel, Sangre BK.
Hello, gracias por invitarme. Muy feliz de estar acá. I'm really happy to be here and to be talking to you about the translation and how we went out.
And thank you for sitting down to talk with me. Sangre, you and I have been speaking through messages. We've actually been in contact for a couple months at this point, trying to get the Spanish translation working, and I think we met over the Thunderspy Gaming Discord. I saw you had mentioned, hey, do you guys need help translating? I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to help. And that sparked something in me, and I was like, man, I would love to have a Spanish translation of the game, because that's how I want to play the game. Not only to practice and enhance my own Spanish, because I am a little bit bilingual, not fluent by any means, such as yourself. But I think it's really important that we do have more opportunities for people who speak different languages to be able to come into the game. So can you tell me, Sangre, what has it been like on your end, looking at the translations? How do you implement that? What is your experience getting this working in the game?
Well, first of all, I had to thank you because you gave me the files to do this, and translating this has been really fun actually, because I get to see all of the text that I actually never seen in the game. There are some things that I never saw, and it's really fun, and I'm really glad to be helping the community and adding a translation to Spanish.
So you mentioned the text files that you've been looking at. What happened was, I was looking through all of the different City of Heroes discords that I could find, and I joined the French Discord server for City of Heroes. And when I was looking through some of the old posts, I saw it was a deleted account, but funny enough, it was Leo, the person who hid the game from us and the owner of Score, who linked the all-text file publicly in that Discord for the French translator to be able to make his translation. And my understanding is that they're going to want to put that on Homecoming at some point. And I will say, I've spoken to the French translator, and I think that he and I are going to speak in perhaps a similar video when the French translations comes out. But my understanding is that they are on pause with that right now. But you have been working non-stop. I was so impressed at how fast you got the Spanish translation in. I was like, wait, it's on QA? It's on the test server already? Oh, it's on live? I can play it now? Like, that was just amazing. And looking at the alt text, it was a little bit confusing at first, because they have, like, it's called a P string, where an enemy has a name like P12345, and then that mixes over to P12345 will say this, or this power is linked to this P string. It's really confusing, and I remember you and I were looking at that, trying to figure out how it worked. So I don't know much about the data and implementation. Who has been helping you get the Spanish translation into the game?
Senpai, or Programming Socks, is the one that has been helping me a lot with this, and he really made this possible, because I am translating it, but he implemented everything in the game, and I have to thank him for everything that he has done.
And Programming Socks, for those of us that might not know, is the person who created Sweet Tea, which is the launcher being used for Thunderspy, and actually works for, when you download Sweet Tea, it gives you manifest to all of the servers, which is very nice. And there was actually, within the past couple weeks, an update to Sweet Tea where it not only gives you an updated version of every manifest, but on the sidebar, it'll even show you like what files are being downloaded and how that's going through. And the nice thing is, when you use one launcher for all of your versions of City of Heroes, you don't have to re-download City of Heroes, the base game. Basically, it just makes you update the latest patch. So if a viewer has been playing on Thunderspy, when they update their current manifest, they're gonna see the option of just playing on CoxG or CoxG in Espanol. And I thought that was nice because it just popped up one day. But let's say maybe somebody hasn't been playing on Thunderspy before. You don't have to re-download the whole game. You get the manifest right there, and now the Spanish version is part of the manifest. but there is so much text in the game. And Sangre, I think you know that better than most people at this point. It's massive, the amount of text. How do you even begin translating that? How do you even get started or know what to do?
First, I started with the UI and everything that is character customization, and I'm going to be moving on to missions, because first I think that Spanish players need to understand how to make their character, how their powers work, and then I can move on into what is history lines, arcs, and alignment and all that, so they can understand what that, for example, equipo is team, liga is lead, basically how the basics of the game work.
Yeah, I'm looking at the character creator now, and I see the text is along the lines of enseña el juego como cualquiera de los 10 arquetipos básicos. And you look at ciencia, mutación, tecnología for the different origins. The archetypes are already done, so controller is controlador. There's tanque for the tank, luchador for the scrapper. What have some of your favorite translations or words been so far that you've gotten to put in the game?
My favorite one that I have translated has to be dominador. I really like that word in specific. Dominator. I really like how it sounds in Spanish. Also, I really like luchador, which is from scrapper. I had to adapt that one because, scrapper isn't really an easy word to translate to Spanish. So I was thinking, what's the closest thing to a scrapper? So a luchador, basically. And, those two are my favorite.
I'm looking at them now. I like the one for blaster. Disintegrador? It sounds like disintegrator. That's a good one. No.
Disintegrador.
Yeah, disintegrador. And I can see, looking over, I know that there are so many powers, like the actual powers themselves, broadsword, dark armor, all that stuff, and all the combinations. I know that that's something that you're going to be getting to. And I looked in game and noticed that the options menu was basically all in Spanish. I noticed a couple things, like maybe a couple of the key binding things like that were still in English, but the windows, it was in ventanas, was basically done. All the different like activate or deactivate, you had translated those already. And I have family members through marriage who are mainly Spanish speakers. I mean, a good percentage of them are only Spanish speakers. And I actually had my niece make me some characters to put into some of the music videos, which I did, that I made. And the whole time I was thinking, man, it would be so nice if the costume creator was in Spanish, so that she could understand and be able to move through and do what she needed to do. Or I could even show, hey, this is the game that I'm playing. Do you want to show any interest and see how it goes? Because I feel like having to read and translate in English could be off-putting to people who don't have English as a primary language. But you're opening the doors with this Spanish translation to any translations in the future, because we mentioned I got the all text file from the French Discord, but they were saying they didn't know how they were going to implement it in game. And that's when you and I were talking and saying, I said, look, you just focus on the translations and we'll find someone to do the data, we'll do the input, we'll find someone who can actually implement this into the game. And then that's where Senpai came in. And really, it is such a amazing thing to have available to us. Was Spanish available on the live game? I don't think that it was.
No, as far as I know, only Korean and English were the main ones.
Korean and English. And then I believe that when Leo was cutting up the code, and so the version of City of Heroes that is now open source that we're using, and a lot of the code was broken up, and purposely so, to make it difficult to run again. But I think that as a community, not just Thunderspy, but all the alternative servers have come so far in power implementation, character customization, but nobody has figured out how to do the translations until now. And I just wanted to say, Sangre, thank you so much for taking the time. How long have you been working on these translations? How long has it taken you?
It's been a couple months, but I usually take an entire day just translating and adapting stuff. The first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, so let's imagine that someone that doesn't know any English is playing this game. So I need to make this really simple to understand. I need to make this something that everyone, even if they are from Mexico or from Colombia, from anywhere that speaks Spanish, they can understand what I'm trying to say.
And I think you and I spoke to that effect at one point because we were communicating and I threw in a couple words in Spanish and you were like, oh, you speak Mexican Spanish. Because you, Sangre, are from Argentina. But I think you're keeping that in mind as you do the translations, that people could be from anywhere of a Spanish-speaking origin and still now be able to access the game. And I just think that that's fantastic. And on a personal note, that means so much to me, like I said, because now my family can play the game and I can share this, when before it was semi-inaccessible to them. So at the time of recording, and depending on when you, the viewer, are watching this, we could be much further than we are now in the Spanish translations. And Sangre, you were saying the order that you're doing is basically character customization, you're getting into the options, and then powers, and then missions, and then further and further down the line, what do you think one of the last things that you would translate would be? What's like the last project you would be doing there?
The last thing that I will be doing is basically story arcs, things that just in the role-playing aspect. That's what I'm doing last, because I want to focus on gameplay and allowing the Spanish-speaking player to understand how the game works.
I think it's going to be funny when we see like the Death Head Gunner NPC in Spanish and shouting things in Spanish. What would that be like? Cabeza de Muerte or something like that?
His name in Spanish would be something like Tirador de Cabeza Muerta or something like that. It's really hard to translate Dead Head Gunner or whatever his name is. I plan to keep some of the names in English because of that, but his name will be like Cabeza Muerta Tirador or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense because the enemy groups, like they could be from a gang or like with the Ricti, right? I imagine that would just be like El Ricti or something. But then I think the Lost, you could probably change like the Lost to something else. Arachnos would probably just stay Arachnos because it's like the name of their organization. But then you would have to get to maybe Freedom Phalanx would stay the same. It would really depend. Devouring Earth, you could probably change to a version in Spanish. I think it just depends on the lore of what you're looking at.
Something like Devouring Earth would be like Tierra Devoradora. There are some words that can be translated, but as you said, Arachnos and for example, Statesman, I will keep those names like that, but there are some names that I will be translating, but most of them I won't.
It's very interesting to hear about, and I am super excited to see just how this progresses and the words that you choose. And I will say from this point on, when I play on Thunderspy, I'm playing in the Spanish version. I want to see always what is the most up-to-date translations because changes happen so fast in this game from one week to the next. It can be like a new class, you can get an entirely new pack of custom created, not just NPC parts, but like custom created insect body parts and things like that coming on. There's so much happening in this game that even though it is 16, 17 years old at this point, I can't believe that it's still progressing so far. And thank you, Sangre, for coming on and being a part of that. And if anyone watching this is interested to play on the Thunderspy gaming server and perhaps try out the Spanish version, you can look in the description below for their website. That's where you do your account creation. And I encourage everybody to join the Discord. Join my Discord because I have links to all of the alternative servers, Discords in my Discord. I have all the manifests in there. And if you want to be a part of the City of Heroes conversation, not just the community, because there's a lot of ways you can be part of the community, but if you want to be part of the conversation and actually understand what is happening, why it's happening, and how it's happening, you need to get on to the Discord. I will take this moment to say there is also a Guilded channel for Thunderspy. They created it is an app that you can get on your phone. There is also a Ruqqus page that you can join, and I'll include a link to that. But really, get in here if you want to know the latest, because I can make videos as fast as I can, but it's about one a week if I'm lucky. And I don't get to talk about everything, but through the Discord, you and I met, Sangre, and that's how this all became possible. And I just think that is magical. So thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your time.
And thank you for having me.
My name is SP Jimmy. Thank you all for watching, and stay safe, Paragon City.